What is going on, guys? Sir Lewis here. In this video I'm going to talk about my indicators below. If you guys are watching this, you're probably interested in getting one of my indicators, which you guys are able to hear in my Patreon, and I'll leave the link in the description and pinned comment below. You guys can see right here that the first tier is just a Discord for $5 a month, and then starting with the second tier you'll be able to get the Discord plus one indicator that you can choose out of the three that I have right now, which I'll be explaining in detail in this video. And then the last tier you'll get all the indicators and charts, everything, even the future indicators. I also have this simple website here explaining a little bit about each of the three indicators, as you guys can see right here. But in this video I'm going to be talking about in detail, in depth on these three indicators, and I'm going to leave the timestamps in the description, so if you guys want to skip around from indicator number 2 to number 3 to number 1, you guys can do so right here on the screen. So without further ado, let's get started here with my first indicator, which to me is my primary one, and I think will be my most popular one. But I don't just use this indicator, I use my other two indicators in combination with this one. But this one is called the Sniper Scalper, okay? And there's a reason why it's called the Sniper Scalper. So basically this is how it looks like, as you guys can see right here. If I take it out, that's just a graph. If I put it back, so you can see right there, that's how it looks like. And all my three indicators, I probably spent around 7 months creating these indicators using trial and error. And this indicator has 4 elements, which I'm going to talk in detail here what they are. Usually indicators will have 1, maybe 2 elements, but this one has 4. And the best part is that if you have the free version of TradingView and you get this indicator, you're gonna, for one indicator, you're gonna get basically 4 elements. And as you guys know, in the free version you can only have 3 indicators. Let's start with the first element, which, as you guys can see, are these clouds right here. Okay, we have this red cloud and green cloud, and I made it that color for a reason. The red cloud is an area in which is very, very rare that we enter into that cloud, and this differs from all time frames. As you guys can see right here, I'm on the daily, but you can change to the hourly and all time frames, and you can see that usually we're not in these clouds, right? Either the top or bottom one. But sometimes, right, in rare occasions when we have huge pumps or dumps, we are. And using this example, as you guys can see right here from Matic, okay, you guys can see that we pumped up into the cloud. We went into the red cloud, and guess what happened after? We came all the way back down. Okay, we got rejected right there, and then it took just a couple of days and we came all the way back down. And then on the opposite side here for Bitcoin, we didn't necessarily go into the green cloud on the bottom here, right? Which this was the bottom for 2022, 15,400 or so. But we were pretty close to it, and if you would have bought right there, right where we were outside of the Keltner bands, which I'll talk about these in a little bit, touching the bottom of the Donchain channel, which is this green line, and we have, as you guys can see right there, a sniper crosshair. This is why it's called a Sniper Scalper. We got a sniper crosshair right there giving a signal that might be a bottom. And then look at that, we come slowly back into the Keltner channel, and then we're slowly growing, and then now we're pivoting to the upside, right? So the clouds are basically an area where if we enter into it, you definitely don't want to do the opposite of the color. So right here, you wouldn't want to short because we're so close to the green cloud. You know, why would you want to short right there when you could long and buy? And similar to the Matic one, why are you going to be longing here when we're all the way in the red cloud? Red signifies sell, shorts, and that's what you should have been doing. And look at that, that would have played out, you see. So moving on here to the second element, which are the Keltner bands. The Keltner bands, which are in white. You can see the Keltner bands are in white. Now I prefer the Keltner bands much more than the Bollinger bands, because it's the Bollinger bands, really, they just get bigger and smaller based on volatility. So usually when we have a very flat market, you will see the Bollinger bands get tighter and tighter, and then once we start to have volatility, they start to grow out. Well, the Keltner bands are different, they're much more stable, and you can see right here, there's a reason why I have the Keltner bands as part of this indicator, because they are super accurate when it comes to resistance and support lines. Right over here on Bitcoin, you can see that we reject the top Keltner band, which is right over here, twice. So right over here, boom, and every time we reject it, guess what we get? We get a sniper crosshair. Rejection 1, rejection 2, right? And then boom, that's when we have that big drop. But then what happens? We slowly make our way back up, and guess where we get rejected again? At the top Keltner band at that time. There's a reason why price stops at these levels, and it shows you how powerful technical analysis is. And you can see right there how we got rejected 3 times on that top Keltner band in a matter of weeks, right? Now moving on to the third element, that is going to be the Donchain channels. And the Donchain channels are basically these red and green lines, and I made them red and green again for a reason, which is very psychological, because you definitely don't want to shorts when we're at the bottom here on the green Donchian channel, right? And you definitely don't want to long when we're at the top here, the Donchian channel. So for example here, the lowest point that Bitcoin went in 2022, right? You can see right here that we are super close to the green clouds. We are touching the Donchian channel, which is the green right here, and we are way below the Keltner bands. Okay, so right here we have 3 incidents, okay, but not just 3, we have 4, because my 4th element is the crosshairs. Okay, we have 4 incidents right here, of which is telling you that you should probably not short and you should probably long and buy around this area. And in reverse, the same thing happened here for Matic, but this time we were actually in the red cloud, right? We were touching the Donchian channel, the red Donchian channel, and we had a red crosshair, and we were way above the Keltner bands, as you can see right there, right? So like I said, this is my primary indicator, which is very powerful, as you guys can see. But I don't just use this one, I use this one in combination with my other 2 indicators, which I'm about to talk about next. But once you start to use this indicator and you start adjusting to it, your psychology starts to change, and you think twice about longing when we should be shorting and shorting when we should be longing. So moving on here to my second indicator, as you guys can see, this is how it looks like right here. So if I take it out, that's how it looks like without it, and this is how it looks like with it. And you might think like, oh, this is not that much, but this indicator is called the Smart Scalper. So first it was a Sniper Scalper, this one is called the Smart Scalper, and it's called that for a reason, because this indicator has 3 elements, and I'm going to talk about these 3 elements. First element is the fact that it shows you automatically support and resistance levels. It picks them out automatically based on every time frame. So here I'm on the hourly. If I change to the daily, you can see right here that the resistance and support levels change, which are in dotted blue. Okay, they are basically in dotted blue, as you guys can see right there. So this is on the daily, and instead of you having to make your own, it makes it automatically here based on the history here of support and resistance lines. So you can see right here on the daily, this is a very important resistance here, and you can see if you date back here, you will see that this is actually a big resistance level here, and then vice versa. These 2 levels right here are very important support levels for Bitcoin, and it shows you this automatically. And when you change to shorter time frames, you can see that there's more of it because we are constantly moving more on the shorter time frames. And just for an example, you can see right here when we come up and we reject this resistance here twice, right? This dates back to right here, which we rejected twice right here, right over here before we pumped, and then right over here before we dumped. So you can see right here how accurate these support and resistance levels are. Now the second element for this indicator, it's going to be this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's this green line right here and this red line. And what this is the previous high, which is this one, and the previous low, which is this one. And I decided to add this because this is actually very important to keep in mind, knowing your previous day high and previous day low, because it kind of shows you a range that we might be trading the next day. So for instance, you can see right here the previous low was all the way down here, so there's a big chance that we might start coming down a little bit since we had this huge pump the previous day. But in general, it just lets you know a certain range that we could be trading in between, and it could act as support and resistance levels as well. And the last element here for this indicator is going to be this pivot change. Okay, and this pivot change right here, you can see it is always the same pattern: green, red, green, red, green. And basically what this is every time we get a big pivot, it changes from red to green to red to green. And obviously this differs on all time frames. So for example, here on the hourly, we start building up, right? We start coming up until we get to a point where we don't keep going up and we start to come down. And that's where the momentum shifts until we finally stop, and then we start moving up, moving up. And then now you can see that we are on the upside. This is great because it lets you know the overall trend and the momentum. It's not fully green yet. The moment that this turns green is the moment that we start to pivot down again, because this is always green, red, green, red. So the next one is going to be red, but it's only going to start pivoting red once we start to actually get momentum to the downside. And once that starts to happen, this will turn green, and then we start to have a dotted red line to the downside. So I really love this element, and it's one of my favorite ones because it shows me the overall momentum based on the current moment. And you will see here when I change to the daily, you will see that there's an overall bigger picture here in a longer time frame. And these pivot changes on the longer time frames obviously takes longer to fulfill versus the hourly or the 15 minutes. So that's the Smart Scalper. Let's move on here to my last indicator. So my last indicator, guys, are going to be these two at the bottom okay, these two oscillators that I created here at the bottom. And I know it looks a little bit confusing, but don't get me wrong, these two oscillators are literally the only oscillators that I use in combination with my other indicators, and I always use these because they are super important. I'm going to show you guys here how important these two are, starting with the first one, which is the top one right here. Now the amazing part about these two oscillators is the fact that both of them have 3 indicators themselves, so altogether it's 6 indicators, 6 elements. In the first one right here we have the stochastic RSI, which I don't know if you guys can see is in orange and blue. That is the stochastic RSI, which we know that is very important to find overbought and oversold levels. The second one is this one in yellow, which is the regular RSI that you can use in combination with the stochastic. So instead of having the stochastic and the regular RSI on top of each other, this indicator lets you see it all in one instead of having it stacked and counting as 2 indicators. And then the one in green, okay, is money flow. And if you guys get confused, it's all in the website. You guys can see right here, it tells you here based on the color money flow, the one in green, but you can see right here how to use this in combination with the other indicators. Here we are way at the top here above the red clouds, and then here we are way above here with the stochastic RSI, the RSI and the money flow very overbought. So that's telling me that I should be looking to short and sell. You see what I'm saying? This is how I use it in combination with the sniper scalper and the smart scalper. And this indicator also tells you sometimes bearish divergence, which we have right here, which as you guys can see, it played out right here. After this bearish divergence, we start heading to the downside, which we did. Now moving on here to my second oscillator, I just moved it here to the top, but usually I have it at the bottom. But this one, as you guys can see, I'm going to tell you the 3 elements that are in this one. The first one is the ADX, which is in red. And I'll explain what the ADX is, but basically this one is one of my favorite, most underrated indicators because it tells you the strength of the trend. It does not care if it's going up or down in price. It just cares about the trend. And what I mean by this, guys, is that this is a great example. We are going up, so the trend is up. It's to the upside, right? Well, guess what happens? ADX starts to rise, and every time it rises, it's basically telling you that the strength of the trend is strong. And right here, this is a great example. When Bitcoin starts to come down, you will see right here that the ADX starts to rise, even though it's coming down in price, because it's telling you that the strength of the trend is very strong, which is bearish, as you can see right. And then what happens when we stay flat like we were right here, that's when the ADX starts to go down. So when the ADX starts to go down, that's telling you that we are just very flat and that we're really not in a heavy trend like we were right over here and like we are right over here. The next one is the CCI, which is in blue. This is a great indicator similar to the RSI to find overbought and oversold regions. As you guys can see right here, you can do more research on how the CCI was made in the math behind it, but you can see right here it is very accurate, finding the tops and the bottoms like we did right over here. You can use it in combination with the money flow and the stochastic, and you can see, okay, we are pretty overbought, and then as soon as it starts to rise, Bitcoin's price starts to rise as well. And last but not least, the last one is the one in white, and the one in white is the volume indicator. And the volume indicator is basically just tells you the volume, and it's similar to the volume bars, which I prefer this instead because I could visually see it in the line versus having the volume bars just slowly going up. You can see right here how low the volume is, and then it starts to pick up as the price starts to go up in price as well. So yeah, those are the 2 scalper oscillators, V1 and V2, but both of these 2 count as my 3rd indicator. Ever since I created these 3 indicators, they're the only ones that I've been using. I've used them for my TikToks, for my shorts, and my live streams, and they help me as a trader a lot. And I'm gonna be looking to make future charts and even more future indicators for different types of trading. But I hope I explained it well for you guys. If you guys have any questions, you guys can leave it in the comments. You guys can message me on Twitter. And as you guys know, if you do sign up for the Patreon, you can also post your questions in the Discord, which I am active, as well as other people in there as well that will be able to help you with the indicator questions and also just technical analysis in general. If you guys want to get these indicators, you guys can check it out in the pinned comment below in the description. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.